Emma Lenny Benya Onile Loko. Esiku Dede Asiko yi. Hello everyone, it's Adirunke again. I hope your day is going well. Today, I'd like to do another Ìwúre. Ìwúre or Ìsúre is prayer or supplication or wish. More specifically, a positive wish, because the negative ones have their own names. So, Ìwúre, you could translate Ìwúre as any of those words: prayer, supplication, positive wish. Ìwú, ire, just the pronouncement of good. That's what it is in and of itself. So the pronouncement of good, of positive occurrences, good positive occurrences. That's Ìwúre in and of itself. And this one relates to waking up. This one relates to waking up. So as far as when you can say it, you can say it at any time of the day, but I've heard it mostly in the mornings, but it really doesn't matter. I've heard it at other times of the day as well, but usually you would hear it in the morning. It's a good positive wish that relates to waking up. So it is Àjídìde ara a máa jẹ́. Àjídìde ara a máa jẹ́. And instead of Àjídìde, you can say Ajinde. So Àjíǹde ara a máa jẹ́. Àjíǹde ara a máa jẹ́. Àjíǹde ara a máa jẹ́. Àjídìde ara a máa jẹ́. Àjídìde ara a máa jẹ́. Most commonly, people say Àjíǹde ara a máa jẹ́, but both mean the exact same thing. Àjídìde ara a máa jẹ́. Do you want to try to say it? Àjídìde ara a máa jẹ́. Àjídìde ara a máa jẹ́. But you could also say, and which is the more common way of saying it, Àjíǹde ara a máa jẹ́. Àjíǹde ara a máa jẹ́. Àjídìde ara a máa jẹ́. Àjíǹde ara a máa jẹ́. Anyway, let me emphasize on the difference is dialectical. Àjídìde and Àjinde mean the exact same thing, but this is where they become different. So I put that in blue. I put the difference in blue. Dide, nde, these are the same words. The only difference here is just the dialect. They're only dialectically different. And I've tried to do my research to see which one came first, but it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell. It's not really crystal clear. There was somebody who was arguing that with dialects, people's, basically, how our dialects formed anyway. People section out of a main group and they move a bit farther and they start, of course, they speak the same language, but certain things change about their tenses or vowels or something, Yeyeresiko is what you would say in Igbajo and in maybe Ibadan. Yarenko. You just basically people start to section from here and there and there and there, and the dialects start to change. And the argument was, you can often trace the versions of Yoruba that predated other ones by checking out the Okay, I can't really say what they said word for word, but essentially they were saying if you cancel this, that this was the first version. Let me use this word as an example, that this was the first version. And then what happened was consonants were cancelled, along the line, and then ide, was what was left, and then eventually this one was also cancelled. I don't know what the basis of that theory was, because we still have this vowel, so it hasn't really been cancelled anywhere, even in the towns and villages that they claim that this was cancelled. But anyway, they said first of all the consonant was cancelled, and eventually this was also cancelled. That it went from dide to ide, and then nde. But obviously you can cite certain other words, and you would tell that that's the person didn't really think far enough. It doesn't really explain the dialectical difference. The cancellation of consonants and the turning of vowels into nasals like this, like you can tell that it's not really well researched. It's like saying digbolu or digbaju, let's say, which you can transliterate as slap. It's like saying when you cancel d, and like for a different dialect, if they cancel d, the consonant, and they turn this into this, then you can say ngbaju, which already, anyway, what I'm trying to say is already you can tell that the rationale that they tried to provide didn't really align. All you had to do was cite 2 or 3 examples in your head, and it wasn't really making sense per se, that explanation. So maybe some other time we can get into the linguistics and semantics aspects of Yoruba words. Let's suspend that for now. But essentially, this is the same word. The only difference here is a dialectical difference. They're only dialectically different. As far as the idea that one version would have come first before the other, as far as trying to explain which one came first, I would say we don't really have a concrete explanation for now, or concrete proof that one came before the other. But just keep it in your mind that whenever you see dide and nde, just know that the person is saying maybe one person is saying dide and the other person is saying nde. They are saying the exact same thing. My grandmother would say ndeo, ndenle, nde. So in my dialect, we say nde. I'm from Igbajo, Boluwaduro local government of Osun State. So if there's any Igbajo person watching, in my dialect we say nde. But if you come to places like Ibadan or even Oyo, or I don't know what the Ekiti people say or what the Ijebu say, but dide and nde are the exact same things. The migration process and what people came first. Where did people live first before they moved into places that are now referred to as maybe Jesha or Ikirun, or like, where did these people come from before establishing this towns? Sometimes people just write. I think that's why a lot of people just are a little bit adamant about sharing their ideas of how things actually were as far as immigration is concerned, or like migration anyway, because a lot of people would not agree. So they would say, this is, people just go off of what their ancestors told them, and sometimes the ancestors did not really know for sure. It was just passed on to them as well. But I suppose you tend to hold what your ancestor tells you in higher regard than anything anybody finds out, So, but yeah, that's the point. And what does the word mean? The word means rise. And a synonym of rise is get up. If you try to sort of explain the word even further, especially using this, D, I'll give you examples of other meanings that D could have in other scenarios. If you put water in the fridge and it freezes, D is to freeze. If you want to describe that somebody sort of got ready, prepared, it would be di kaka di kuku. So D, sort of, if I do this, D, I'm taking, putting myself together, putting when something takes another form and begins to put itself together, you could describe that as D. If it's water, if water puts itself together like that, it freezes, the water is cold. If you personified water and you say the water is cold, the water is really cold because, it's now it's freezing, so it freezes. But the water could also be, cold in you looking at it as a thin aspect. But the water really is cold. That's why it takes on that form. D is to put oneself together, and then D suggests rise, not ascend, but like to come up from maybe a settled position. Something is settled on the ground and it comes up from that. You could align that with the word day. I said if you want to make sense of many things, just switch around the tone. Why do we have a tonal language? I explained this in the video on tonal marks. Sometimes it's to differentiate meanings. I gave the example of ba, which is to perch, and ba, which is to take that protective stance like a hen does over her chicks. I've given that example over time. De would be like to arrive. De sort of suggests, coming up sort of from a settled position. Essentially, if you're looking for an English word to explain all of this, rise does the rise is good. Rise is good. Exact same, maybe not exact same, but they refer to the same things. Rise or get up. So now let's do the prayer. After overanalyzing everything, let's do the prayer. Àjídìde is the act of waking and getting up or rising. Àjídìde, the act of waking up or getting up or rising. And even Ajinde as well. Is the act or state of. It's a noun maker. You slapped it onto G, so you make this a noun. This is the verb. Anyway, the act or state of. G is to wake or to wake up. They're essentially the same things. Maybe they would only differ based on the context. And then dide or nde would be rise or get up. Dide or nde, rise or get up. So the active state of waking up and getting up or rising. And then ara is the body. Ara is body. It's what we call body. A is will. A is will. Ma suggests that something is in continuous form. continuous or future tense indicator. So if I'm going to give this an English word, I would say continuously. Ma, mo ma lo, I will go. Ma, wa, I will continuously come. Just take it as continuously. I'm going to spend too much time overthinking that. Continuously. Je has varying meanings. It could be be, omodada ni ko je, be a good child, or align with. So be aligned with, or work for. Oh, je for me, it worked for me, or respond or answer to. Geminio, respond to my voice, my tone, my sound. Respond or answer to, and then sometimes it could be comply with. Sort of synonymous with respond or answer to. Sometimes it's yield expected result. So without even saying anything, you could say, without saying anything afterward, you could say oje. You've said that something yielded the expected results, and sometimes it's be successful. So also that is synonymous with yield expected results. So be successful. So when you put all this together, the act of waking up or rising of the body will continuously be successful. When you transliterate it, it would look like this. The act of waking up and getting up or rising your body will continuously be successful. This is the transliteration. Of course, I'll give a translation. It sounds rough, in a different language. I like to transliterate before translating because it helps you see, but it's always good to translate so that it aligns with the other language that you're translating to. When you translate, you get this. Waking and rising will continuously be successful. So I've omitted the body in a part. In Yoruba language, the body is very, very significant. Saying that it would be the body. Saying the body, including the body in Àjídìde. If you say Àjídìde amaje, yeah, that's a Àjídìde kini. The rising of what? The rising of the body. So you have to include ara. But in the English language, you can just leave it this way. Different languages, different cultures, different ways of thinking, different ideas about what's significant in speech and in general living. Sometimes you just have to, this works for the English language, but the ara here is important to include in the Yoruba language because the soul doesn't sleep. Sometimes your spirit will take trips and, working with your brain, you might dream and all that. But even all that aside, whether or not you dream, it's not your soul that sleeps. It is your body. It is your body that needs the rest, not necessarily your soul. Your body needs the rest because the planet is really somewhat dense, and they are just... Anyway, rest is an integral part of how we do things here on Earth, irrespective of where else. Well, this sphere that we call Earth, irrespective of where the soul really is from, the Orun, the source of the soul. So, it's very critical that you include body here. Very critical because there's a lot of things are inferred in the Yoruba language, and higher knowledge sort of reflects in sentences that you might classify as just mundane sentences. Àjídìde, it is the body that needs to wake and get up. So here in the language, in the Yoruba context, you're specifying. If I say waking and rising of the body will continuously be successful, it makes sense. It's not awkward, but some English people would prefer that you leave it as waking and rising. Like they feel the body is a tautology. You don't have to include that, So anyway, all that to say, how it appears in the Yoruba language is perfect. It makes sense. But also, if you say this for the English version, it also makes sense. It also aligns with the culture. That's essentially the prayer. Waking and rising will be successful, will work. Waking, you would not die. Is essentially what that is. It is the body that can die. The soul can't really die. The earth, the heart, the heart might stop working, and the brain might stop working, and all that, or whatever. And so you say the person is dead, but the soul doesn't die. It is the body that just, and you can only use the body once. In the practical form. Let's not go into the akudaya and all that topic for now, but in the typical form, you can only use the body once. So waking and rising of this vessel that your soul is currently using to do what it needs to do on this planet, waking this body up will continuously be successful, at least until the point when it can't. You will not die, is what this prayer is inferring. You will not die. The body will not die. Àjídìde, waking it up and raising it up, rising, will continuously be successful. Àjídìde. If you saying Àjídìde works for anybody, any group of people, irrespective of the gender, the number of people you're talking to, the age difference, anything, it works. If you want to include pronouns, although it's not necessary, if you want to include pronouns, then this would be an example of you including pronouns. So if you say Àjídìde ara yín a máa jẹ́, or Àjíǹde ara yín a máa jẹ́, you would be saying yín is the plural your. So it's the your that you would say to somebody that is older than you, or multiple people, 2 or more people, irrespective of their age differences. One person that is older than you, or 2 or more people of any age, your waking and rising will continuously be successful, is what you would be saying if you say Àjídìde ara yín a máa jẹ́, or Àjíǹde ara yín a máa jẹ́. If you want to say our, let's say I'm praying for us, I'm making a positive wish for us, all of us, and I say Àjídìde ara wa a máa jẹ́, or Àjíǹde ara wa a máa jẹ́. I don't have to include any pronouns, but this pronoun, wa, I don't have to include that. But if I do, then I'll be saying our waking and rising will continuously be successful. I feel uncomfortable leaving body out, but just know that body, in the Yoruba sense of the word, of the prayer, which I've explained, including the body here, reminds one that it is the body that can die, not necessarily the soul. When the Yoruba people say one thing, sometimes they're saying 5 things. You just have to analyze it to find out what they're saying. I'll our waking and rise. See, this is why I can't include body in the English translation. Our waking and rising of our bodies. Of our bodies sounds unnecessary. You would agree, in what you would call the good English. So the waking and rising of our bodies, our waking and rising will continuously be successful. You know, our waking and rising. So you can include you can include pronouns. You don't have to, but if you do, these are the forms that they will take. So if I say Àjídìde ara mi, amaje, the waking and rising of my body will continuously work, will continuously yield the expected result, will continuously be successful. You know, I could say it that way. I don't have to, but that's essentially the prayer. You will be able to wake up, you know, until the point when, you know, of course you can't live forever, until the point when you can't, until you've done what you need to do on this sphere, on this planet, as, of course, your current form as Ronke. So even if I die, I may still be here doing other things, you know, but not with this body. It is the body that is very liable to not wake up. You know, body is so fragile. Sometimes we disregard our bodies, but they are the most important, you know, tool. They are the most important of all the many things that we hold dear when we come here. I didn't intend for that rhyme to happen. Anyway, of all the things that we hold dear, sometimes we disregard our bodies. And it doesn't matter if you have a car, or you have the most gigantic house in LA, or this or that. If you're not taking care of your body, if you're not eating right or living well, I mean, doing all these things doesn't even guarantee you a long, happy life. But if you're not even making an attempt at all, then how are you going to be able to enjoy these things that you've worked for? Or, you know, these earthly things that you're accumulating. You're not eating well. You're not sleeping well. I'm talking to myself at this point, so don't worry. And you're not, you know, you're not making concrete effort to pamper this tool. You know, how are you going to enjoy this sphere? You're drinking and smoking and just using the body anyhow. How are you going to be able to enjoy the things that you're accumulating or working for? So it's the one that is liable to die, to give up. If you're not taking care of it, it will give up. You know. So all that to say, make an attempt to take care of your body, so that Àjídìde, you know, so that your waking and rising each day will be successful. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your time. And I'll see you in the next one. Enjoy the rest of your day, and bye for now.
Ó dá mi lójú tàdátà Yemọja sani akọ mi ọ̀tẹ́dá lẹ́yìn pọ̀sángo ọlálẹ́mí bọ̀ kẹ́rì òkun Yemọja ló mẹ́lọ́dún lọ́sàn sẹ̀rẹ̀mọ́nà tí Yemọja bá fọ́ọ̀rẹ́ Ṣàngó sì fọ́ọ̀rẹ́ kólórí ó fọ́ mórí ó jẹ́ nílé jẹ́ lódò Yemọja yé ó sá bàbá mi Àrẹ̀mú ní ẹ̀ka lódò ká lè gbọ́ ọmọ tuntun ó Yemọja. Wọ́n jọ fò sàwọn ọmọ mi ó jẹ́ nílé jẹ́ lódò ó sá bàbá mi Àrẹ̀mú dáńkọ́ lódò ó sàwọn ọmọ mi ó Yemọja. ogún àjùmọ̀jọba àwa rèé jẹ́